The uncomfortable truth about pain and growth. Have you ever wondered why nothing seems to change in your life? You read all the books, watch the motivational videos, make countless plans, yet you still feel stuck in the same place. Let me ask you something a bit different. When was the last time you truly suffered? I don't mean just feeling a little uncomfortable. I'm talking about genuine suffering, being pushed so far out of your comfort zone that it physically ached, emotionally drained you, and mentally pushed you to the very edge. Because here's a truth nobody really wants to say out loud: to grow, you must suffer. I know that's probably not what you wanted to hear. You were hoping for a shortcut, a quick affirmation, a simple fix. But deep down, a part of you already knows this, doesn't it? It's the pain that forges the real you. Comfort doesn't transform people. Hardship does. Ugliness does. Loss does. Rejection does. Look at the people you admire, those who are strong, poised, and incredibly focused. They didn't get that way by accident. They earned it by walking through hell and stubbornly refusing to come out empty-handed. You don't grow by being untouched or by avoiding difficulty. You grow by being tested and still choosing to show up again and again. This isn't some feel-good pep talk. This is a wake-up call. You think you want change. You think you're ready for growth. Then brace yourself, because everything you truly want is waiting for you on the other side of pain. And the only way to get there is through it. Now, let's talk about how you build that inner fire. How you learn to lean into the suffering, and how you emerge on the other side unbreakable. Pain, the non-negotiable price of progress. You often hear people talk about growth as if it's this inspiring, beautiful journey. They paint it with soft colors and plaster it with motivational quotes. But the reality? Growth is often violent. It tears through your established comforts. It strips you bare. It forces you to confront every weak, lazy, and dishonest part of yourself. It's not a gentle sunrise. It's a battlefield. And pain is the entry fee. The truth is, nobody wants to suffer. We are fundamentally wired to avoid pain emotionally, physically, mentally. We build our lives around convenience, comfort, and control. But here's the insidious problem with that. Comfort breeds complacency, and complacency, that's a slow death for your potential. You might not see it happening right away, but the moment you stop challenging yourself, you begin to decay from the inside out. You stop taking risks. You stop confronting uncomfortable truths. You stop expanding your limits. True growth never happens when things are easy. It happens when life cracks you wide open. It's when your carefully laid plans fall apart, when people betray you, when you're utterly exhausted and defeated, but somehow still find the strength to keep going. That's where the real change happens. Not in the curated, Instagram-worthy moments, but in the dirty, painful, behind-the-scenes battles that no one else ever sees, the ones you fight in silence. We've been sold a deceptive lie, that if something is truly meant for you, it should come effortlessly. That if a door is hard to open, maybe it wasn't yours to walk through. That is not truth. That is weakness dressed up as wisdom. Anything truly worth becoming is going to hurt. It's going to stretch you so far past your perceived limits that you'll forget who you even thought you were. And that, precisely, is the point. Because growth is the death of who you were, and the painful birth of who you're meant to be. Think about how you train your body. What do? You introduce resistance. You lift more than it wants to carry. You run longer than it wants to move. You put it under pressure, often painful pressure, because you understand that's the only way it becomes stronger, faster, more resilient. So, why would your mind, your character, your spirit grow any differently? You don't build mental toughness by sitting on a couch reading about it. You build it by dragging yourself through the days you don't think you can survive and doing it anyway. Most people never reach their true potential, not because they lack talent or opportunity, but because the moment it starts to hurt, they retreat. They mistakenly believe pain is a stop sign. But pain is not a sign to stop. It's a signal that you're in the middle of transformation. Pain says, "This matters." Pain says, "You're not there yet, but you're getting closer." Pain is a guide, a brutal one, yes, but a fiercely loyal one. You don't get to grow without sacrifice. You don't get strength without struggle. You don't get clarity without chaos. There is no elevation without something inside you being destroyed. You want to rise. Then something within you has to fall away. Your excuses, your limiting attachments, your old beliefs. Growth demands a trade. What are you willing to give up to become who you're truly meant to be? People always claim they want to change. But when suffering inevitably begins, they go quiet. Why? Because real change costs something. It costs comfort. It costs certainty. It costs the luxury of blaming the world for your pain. That's precisely why not everyone grows, and why not everyone truly evolves. It's simply easier to stay small and numb than to willingly burn through the fire of growth. But here's a crucial point. If you don't actively choose the pain of progress, life will eventually hand you the pain of regret. And that kind of pain, that one sticks. That one haunts. That one will eat at you until the day you die. So, what do? You get honest with yourself. You stop sugarcoating the journey. You start expecting resistance. And when it shows up, you welcome it. You let it sharpen you. You let it break down what's weak in you, so you can rebuild what's truly strong. You stop asking, "Why is this happening to me?" and start asking, "What is this making of me?" Because every single painful moment is an invitation. An invitation to level up, to shift your perspective, to let go of your old narrative and bravely write a new one. The version of you that can't handle rejection, that version has to die. The version that gives up when things get hard, that version has to go. The version that constantly seeks external validation, hides from the truth, or fears judgment, that version simply cannot go where you're headed. Pain isn't your enemy. Pain is a mirror. It shows you what you're truly made of. It shows you where you need to heal. It shows you what you genuinely value. And most importantly, it shows you what you're capable of becoming if you're only willing to stay in it long enough to find out. So, if you're hurting right now, good. That means you're not numb. That means you're engaged in life. That means you're on the edge of something profoundly real. Don't waste that feeling. Don't run from it. Let the pain do what it came to do. Let it teach. Let it carve. Let it transform. And when you come out the other side, because you'll be unrecognizable. Not because life suddenly got easier, but because you got harder to break. You'll be stronger, clearer, wiser. That, my friend, is the price of progress. And you, unequivocally, are worth that price. Building emotional resilience, a muscle, not a gift. Most people mistakenly believe that emotional resilience is something you're either born with or not. That some individuals are just naturally tougher. But that, too, is a lie. Emotional resilience isn't some rare, inherent gift. It's a muscle. And like any muscle, it has to be trained, stressed, broken down, and painstakingly rebuilt, over and over again, until it becomes strong enough to hold you up when everything else in your life falls apart. Think about it. Nobody questions that to get physically strong, you need to lift heavy things. You have to go to the gym, challenge yourself, push past what feels easy, and endure some level of pain. Emotional strength is the exact same thing. It just happens in silence. You train it in your private struggles. In those moments when you think nobody sees. In the days where everything inside you is screaming to quit, to lash out, to run, and yet you stay. You breathe. You choose to respond instead of simply react. Most people are emotionally reactive. They let their feelings drive the car. Anger, fear, insecurity, they allow those raw emotions to dictate their decisions, their relationships, even their sense of self-worth. That's weakness. That's living at the mercy of your external environment. Emotional resilience is profoundly different. It's the ability to feel every ounce of pain, disappointment, and betrayal, and still hold the line, still show up, still move forward. Let me be absolutely clear. Resilience isn't about suppressing emotion. It's not about pretending things don't hurt. That's merely denial, and it always explodes later. Real resilience is facing it head on, sitting in the discomfort, owning the pain, letting yourself feel it, but crucially, not letting it control you. You become the observer, not the slave to your emotions. You don't develop this kind of strength in the sunshine. You develop it in the storm. It's when your heart is broken, but you still get up and maintain your integrity. It's when someone disrespects you, and instead of retaliating, you respond with clarity, not chaos. It's when you're exhausted, misunderstood, unseen, and you still keep your word. That, my friend, is emotional toughness. And while it's rare, it's absolutely buildable. The hard truth is that no one can give this to you. You won't get it simply from a book, a podcast, or even a mentor. Those resources might light the fire, but the actual work is done in the dark. It's done in silence, when you're alone with your thoughts, your triggers, and your wounds. It's done when you choose to do the right thing, not the easy thing, especially when no one is watching. Think about athletes. Think about soldiers. Think about survivors. They don't just endure pain. They train in it. They don't avoid difficulty. They actively seek it out. They simulate it because they understand something most people don't. If you wait until life breaks you to figure out how to be strong, it's already too late. And here's something else people don't talk about enough. Emotional resilience is also about owning your reactions. Nobody owes you emotional stability. Nobody is responsible for how you respond to life's challenges but you. You can't control the people who hurt you. You can't control the losses, the betrayals, or the sudden changes. But you can always control what you do next. And the more you take ownership of that truth, the more unshakable you become. But if you're always blaming, always pointing outward, always justifying your anger, your bitterness, or your self-destruction, then you will never truly grow. You'll remain trapped in your pain because you've given it permission to define you. Resilience says, I acknowledge what happened, but I refuse to let it decide who I become. Let me give you something practical. The next time you feel triggered, angry, jealous, anxious, whatever it might be, pause. Don't react immediately. Just pause. Ask yourself, what story am I telling myself right now? Is it even true? Is it helpful? That tiny moment of awareness, that brief pause, that's the beginning of emotional strength. That's the moment you step out of autopilot and into self-mastery. You train this by showing up in small ways every single day. When someone speaks to you disrespectfully, you don't meet it with rage. You meet it with grounded clarity. When you feel like giving up on yourself, you talk to yourself like someone you're responsible for protecting. You become the parent your inner child never had. You become the leader your past self desperately needed. That's precisely how you build this muscle. And guess what? You're going to mess up a lot. You're going to lose your cool. You're going to fall apart. You're going to feel weak at times. But every single time you pick yourself back up, every time you pause instead of explode, every time you reflect instead of run, that muscle gets stronger. And one day, without even fully realizing it, you'll look back and see someone who can carry more emotional weight than you ever thought possible. That's what this journey is truly about. Becoming someone you can trust. Someone who doesn't need the world to be perfect to remain steady. Someone who doesn't collapse just because life didn't go according to plan. Someone who has scars, yes, but wears them with pride because they earned them. Life doesn't care how you feel. Life is going to test you regardless. You don't get to avoid adversity, but you absolutely get to decide what kind of person you become in response to it. Victim or warrior, reactive or resilient, fragile or unbreakable. If you genuinely want to change your life, you have to build the emotional stamina to carry the weight of your potential. And that starts with choosing growth over comfort, again and again. one rep at a time, one hard conversation at a time, one sleepless night at a time. That's how this muscle is built. And let me tell you, when it's strong, when you've truly trained for it, no storm, no person, no loss can ever truly take you out. You become the calm in the chaos, the quiet force in the silence. And that, my friend, is a power no one can ever take from you. Victimhood trap. Stop waiting for permission. We live in a world that often rewards outrage, celebrates blame, and subtly teaches people how to find comfort in being the victim. It's often easier to post online about how unfair life is than to actually do something about it. It's easier to gather sympathy than to take personal responsibility. But here's the uncomfortable truth. Victimhood is a trap, and the longer you stay in it, the more it poisons your true potential. Now, this doesn't mean bad things don't happen to good people. They absolutely do. People will betray you. You'll lose loved ones. You'll be passed over, overlooked, underestimated. You might grow up in chaos. You might carry deep trauma. Life can be brutal, unfair, even cruel. We must acknowledge that. But here's the line you simply cannot cross. You don't get to make pain your identity. You don't get to build your entire personality around what broke you. That's where growth dies. Victimhood might feel good at first. It gives you an excuse. It lets you off the hook. It allows you to point your finger at the world and say, "This isn't my fault." And maybe, at one point, it wasn't. Maybe someone else did hurt you. Maybe you were dealt a truly brutal hand. But at some point, and this is incredibly hard to hear, you have to stop blaming the person who caused the wound and start asking yourself why you're still bleeding years later. Because what happened to you might not have been your fault. But healing from it is absolutely your responsibility. The fundamental problem with staying in a victim mindset is that it steals your power. It convinces you that nothing you do matters because everything is being done to you. It feeds this illusion that the world somehow owes you something because you've suffered. But the world doesn't owe you healing. The world doesn't owe you fairness. And if you wait around hoping for justice, or closure, or for someone to apologize, you will waste your entire life waiting. People who remain victims spend all their energy dwelling on why things are the way they are. They become experts at describing their pain, but they never actually do anything to move through it. They collect stories, labels, excuses, and reasons, but they never produce results. They confuse being hurt with being helpless. They confuse merely surviving with actually growing. But here's a critical distinction. There's a profound difference between being wounded and being weak. We all get hurt. That's an inevitable part of being human. But some people wear their wounds like armor, like justification, like their very identity. And that, my friend, will keep you small. Have you ever met someone who's been through hell and came out stronger, more grounded, more intentional? And then someone else who's been through the very same kind of storm, but years later, they're still bitter, still blaming, still utterly stuck. The difference isn't what happened to them. The difference is the story they chose to believe afterward. One said, "This will define me." The other said, "This will refine me." One chose to stay powerless. The other chose to evolve. And, make no mistake, this is a choice you make every single day. A choice between holding on to resentment or bravely reaching for responsibility. Between telling yourself you're broken or telling yourself you're actively becoming. Between staying stuck in the story of why me and boldly stepping into what now. Let me give it to you straight. Nobody is coming to save you. Nobody is coming to rewrite your story for you. You can talk about how unfair it all is, how people wronged you, how you didn't deserve what happened, and you might even be right. But what then? What do you gain from staying in that place? Because being right won't make you better. Being bitter won't make you stronger. And pain, when left unprocessed, becomes a poison. It slowly starts to color how you see yourself, how you see others, and how you see what's even possible for your future. Victimhood also has a sneaky way of distorting your self-image. It whispers to you that because someone treated you like you were nothing, perhaps you are nothing. It convinces you that your worth is irrevocably tied to how others perceive you, how others treat you, how others failed you. But that's a lie. You are not what happened to you. You are what you choose to become in the aftermath. And let me tell you something else powerful. The moment you truly stop seeing yourself as a victim, people will start treating you differently. Why? Because energy doesn't lie. When you carry yourself with strength, not entitlement, with ownership, not blame, with clarity, not chaos, people feel that. They start to respect you more. But more importantly, you start to respect yourself more. And self-respect. That's the foundational bedrock of every great transformation. You want to build a powerful life. Then you have to let go of the narrative that someone else is in charge of how you feel. You have to stop waiting for an apology that may never come. You have to stop replaying the betrayal, the trauma, the rejection, and start writing the next chapter like you're the true author. Not merely the victim of it, because you are. You get to decide how the story ends. You get to decide whether you stay stuck in the version of you that was broken, or whether you become the version that came back. Wiser, stronger, sharper. Victimhood keeps you looking backward. Power keeps you focused forward. So ask yourself honestly, what's the real payoff you're getting from staying a victim? Attention? Sympathy? Avoiding hard truths? Fine. But then ask yourself if it's truly worth trading your entire future for. Ask if you want to spend your life rehearsing your pain or actively rewriting your path. You cannot have both. There's something incredible waiting for you on the other side of accountability. It's called freedom. But you can't get there dragging chains made of blame. Let it go. Stand up. Speak your truth, not just about what happened, but about who you're becoming because of it. And walk. Maybe slowly, maybe with a limp, but walk forward. That's how you escape the trap. That's how you reclaim your life. That's how you truly win. not by pretending it didn't hurt, but by refusing to stay hurt forever. Fear and failure. Your unlikely guide's fear has a voice. It's often quiet, subtle, but relentlessly constant. It whispers when you're about to take a risk. It tugs at you when you're stepping into something unknown. It doesn't show up with blaring sirens, but with subtle, insidious doubts. What if I'm not good enough? What if I fail? What if I look stupid? You know that voice, don't you? We all do. And most people let that voice decide the entire direction of their lives. They let fear drive the car, not because they want to, but because they mistakenly think fear is a warning to stop. But here's what nobody teaches you growing up. Fear isn't a warning. Fear is a compass. Whatever truly scares you, that's where the gold is buried. We've been taught that fear is something to avoid, to push down, to silence. But fear isn't the enemy. Fear is simply data. It's information. It shows you where the edge is. It shows you where you've never been before. And that, precisely, is where genuine growth lives. You want a life that truly matters. You want to become someone who's genuinely powerful, not pretend powerful, but deeply unshakable. Then you have to stop avoiding fear and start listening to it. Not obeying it, not surrendering to it, but simply listening. Because sometimes fear isn't saying, "Don't go." Sometimes it's saying, "This matters deeply to you," and that's precisely why it scares you. Look closely at the people you admire. Ones doing meaningful, bold, courageous things with their lives. Do you think they were fearless? No. They were terrified. They still are. The difference is, they decided to stop waiting for the fear to magically disappear and started moving with it. They stopped seeing fear as a reason to retreat and started seeing it as a signpost. You're getting close. And then there's failure. Fear's closest cousin. Another word we've been conditioned to dread. We treat failure like undeniable proof of inadequacy, like something deeply shameful, something utterly final. But that's only because we fundamentally misunderstand what failure actually is. Failure isn't a reflection of your worth. It's a reflection of your willingness to try. And the people who win big, they're not the ones who never failed. They're the ones who failed the most and kept going. Let me put it simply. You cannot grow without failing. It's impossible. You can't build muscle without tearing the fibers. You can't build wisdom without making mistakes. And you certainly can't build courage without walking directly through fear. These things are not optional. They are required. If you're not failing, you're not even genuinely playing the game. But you've been taught to fear embarrassment. You've been taught to protect your image at all costs. So, you play it safe. You keep your ambitions small. You only take the shots you're absolutely sure you'll make. And you call it being realistic. But really, it's just fear disguised as logic. And here's the deeper cost. The more you protect yourself from fear and failure, the smaller your life inevitably becomes. You start to shrink your goals. You lower your standards. You silence your own powerful voice. All to avoid that fleeting feeling of falling short. But now ask yourself, is living a smaller, unfulfilled life truly worth avoiding temporary discomfort. Because fear is temporary, so is failure. But regret, that's permanent. Regret doesn't scream loudly. It lingers. It creeps in when the noise of daily life dies down. It whispers, "You could have gone further. You could have tried harder. You could have become so much more." The truth is, if you're scared, you're alive. That means there's something genuinely on the table worth chasing. So, chase it. Chase it knowing full well you might fail. Chase it knowing fear will absolutely show up. But chase it anyway, because even if you fail, you'll be further than most people. Because most people never even start. And when you fail, and you will fail, don't collapse into despair. Don't spiral into self-pity. Instead, study it. Deconstruct it. Ask yourself, what did I learn here? What did this experience show me about myself? What can I do differently next time? That's how you turn failure into fuel. That's how you train your mind to see the lessons, not just the loss. You're not supposed to be perfect. You're supposed to evolve. And you cannot evolve if you're obsessively worried about not messing up. Mistakes aren't the enemy. Stagnation is. Playing it safe, living small, avoiding all risk, that's the real danger. That's how people wake up at 50 or 60 and tragically realize they lived their entire lives in protection mode, never once stepping into their full, incredible power. What you desperately need is a reframe. Fear is a signal, not stop sign. Failure is feedback, not a final judgment. And every single time you face both of them, you build something stronger, more enduring inside yourself. You build resilience. You build grit. You build undeniable evidence. Evidence that you can fall and still rise. That you can hurt and still heal. That you can fear and still move forward. Stop waiting for the fear to simply go away. Stop trying to avoid failing altogether. Instead, get strong enough to carry both. Let fear ride in the car with you, but never, ever let it touch the wheel. Let failure walk beside you, but never let it lead the way. You are more than both of them. And the moment you stop fearing them, the moment you stop running from them, is the moment your life actually begins. The life you truly want, the confidence, the strength, the impact, it's all waiting for you on the other side of fear and failure. It's standing right behind the moments that scare you most. And the only way to reach it is to walk straight into what you've been trying so hard to avoid. Because growth isn't found in safety. It's found in the stretch. And stretching always hurts before it ultimately sets you free. Turning suffering into unbreakable strength. Suffering has a unique way of stripping everything away. It doesn't ask for permission. It doesn't care how prepared you think you are. One moment, life feels stable, predictable, comfortable. And the next, something profoundly shifts. Someone leaves, you get that call. The job disappears. A painful betrayal happens. A devastating health scare hits. Suddenly, everything false in your life gets exposed. Every illusion, every carefully constructed mask, every layer of protection you've built gone. What's left is just you. Raw, unfiltered, exposed, and that's precisely where the truth begins. You see, when everything is easy, it's incredibly hard to tell who you truly are. When you're winning, when everyone's applauding, when things are going exactly your way, it's easy to look strong, to sound wise, to play confident. But none of that is truly tested. None of that is truly proven. That's a performance, not a genuine reflection of your depth. True character doesn't show itself when you're comfortable. It shows itself when you're in pain. Suffering pulls the curtain back. It reveals what you actually believe about yourself, about others, about life itself. It shows you what you truly lean on, and whether or not that thing can actually hold you up. It reveals the parts of you that are still immature, still reactive, still clinging to fantasy. It shows you where your real values truly live, not just the ones you post about online. It shows you what genuinely matters and what never did. It doesn't feel noble in the moment. It feels brutal. Suffering is messy. It brings with it intense anger, crippling confusion, profound hopelessness. It makes you question everything, your path, your purpose, even your own worth. But in the quiet moments, underneath all that overwhelming pain, something real begins to emerge. A kind of clarity. A version of you that doesn't care about external approval anymore. That doesn't need to be perfectly understood. That stops performing for others and finally starts living authentically. And that version of you is rare. That version of you is dangerous in the best possible way, because it's not built on ego. It's built on truth. You've looked in the mirror and seen yourself broken, and you didn't look away. You've sat in your suffering without numbing it, blaming others, or running from it. And because of that, you know yourself on a deeper level than most people ever will. There's something sacred about going through immense pain and refusing to let it harden your heart. About feeling your heartbreak, but not letting it close you off to the world. About being disrespected, but not becoming bitter. About being abandoned and still choosing to show up with love and compassion. That's power. That's true self, mastery. And you only earn that by suffering and staying awake, consciously present within that suffering. Most people run from it. They distract themselves with noise, with constant activity, with busyness. They don't want to face what's underneath the pain, because underneath the pain is truth. And truth demands change. It requires accountability. It requires humility. That's precisely why people avoid it. But when you stop running, when you sit still and truly listen, suffering teaches you things no one else can. It teaches you about endurance. It teaches you about your inherent strength, and not the kind of strength that merely looks good on the outside, but the deep, quiet kind that whispers, "I'll keep going." Even if no one claps, even if no one sees. Suffering also has a profound way of refining your relationships. When you're in pain, you see very clearly who leans in and who backs away. You see who truly listens and who mysteriously disappears. You learn who genuinely cares and who is just there for the good times. It hurts, yes, but it's utterly necessary, because pretending people love you when they don't, or pretending you're close when you're not, that's a destructive form of self-betrayal. And suffering ends that illusion. You start to crave honesty, simplicity. You stop needing to be everything to everyone. You become more grounded, less reactive. You start choosing people based on genuine character, not fleeting convenience. You start valuing inner peace over external attention, genuine depth over superficial noise, and uncomfortable truth over fleeting comfort. That's what suffering does. It purifies your perspective, and you begin to respect yourself more deeply, not because you managed to avoid pain, but because you boldly faced it, because you didn't collapse, because you didn't lose your integrity, because you didn't let suffering turn you into someone you're not. That kind of self-respect cannot be bought. It's forged in fire. Here's what most people tragically misunderstand. Suffering isn't the enemy. It's a mirror. It reflects back to you who you truly are when nothing else is left to hold on to. And if you pay careful attention, it becomes your greatest teacher. It shows you what needs healing, what needs letting go of, what needs to be completely rebuilt. Some of the most powerful, grounded, and peaceful people you'll ever meet aren't that way because their lives were easy. They're that way because they've walked through hell and consciously chose not to become it. They chose to extract wisdom from their wounds. They chose to become better, not bitter. They chose to use their pain not as a prison, but as a portal to a deeper, more resilient self. That choice is available to you, not just once, but every single day. Every day you suffer, you get to choose. Collapse or construct, deny or deal, shrink or stretch. You can let your pain define you, or you can let it powerfully reveal you. And what it reveals, if you're truly honest, might just surprise you. You might realize you're far stronger than you ever thought, that you don't need what you thought you did, that the very thing you feared losing was actually keeping you small, that the version of you on the other side of this pain is exactly who you were meant to become all along. No one escapes suffering, but not everyone is transformed by it. Some people stay stuck. Others rise from the ashes. The difference isn't the pain itself. It's what you choose to do with it. So, let it strip you down. Let it break your illusions. Let it hurt. But don't run. Don't numb it. Don't waste it. Let it teach you who you are. Let it show you what you're truly made of. Let it reveal the immense strength you forgot you had. That's where your deepest truth lives, right in the middle of the storm. And if you're brave enough to face it, you'll never go back to who you were before. You didn't come this far to stay soft. You didn't walk through fire just to simply survive. You came to transform. Growth is not comfortable. It's not clean. It's certainly not glamorous. It's gritty, deeply painful, and intensely personal. But it is, unequivocally, worth every single bit of it. Every scar, every failure, every setback, it's all shaping you into someone sharper, stronger, and more aligned with who you were always meant to be. The world wants to sell you easy paths, quick wins, ways to numb the pain, skip the process, and stay safe. But here's the profound truth no one's telling you. Safety will never fulfill you. Comfort will never truly empower you. And avoiding suffering will never reveal your true greatness. You grow because you suffer. You evolve through your pain. The struggle isn't a sign that you're broken. It's undeniable proof that you're actively building something incredible. So, stop looking for a way out. Start looking for the lesson. Stop asking for it to get easier. Start asking how you can get stronger. You don't need to be fearless. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to be honest. You need to stop running from yourself. You need to face the fear, own the failure, and use the suffering not as an excuse, but as pure, unadulterated fuel. Because if you want a life that's real, powerful, and deeply fulfilling, you're going to have to earn it. So, walk into the fire, head high, heart open, and don't look back. This is how you rise. This is how you grow. And this is how you take your pain and powerfully turn it into the foundation of your unbreakable strength.